Hi, welcome to our Sproutable Book Club. This is our first book club.
Yay.
And we decided to start, as you can tell, the sleep-deprived parents that we are, we decided to start with The Happy Sleeper. So we'll be reviewing that for you. We both read the book, and by read the book, I mean, like in any book club, we read parts of it.
The part that pertained to us at the moment,
exactly.
you know?
The part that we needed mostly for our children. So Alanna, when did you start reading the book?
So I started at about 7 months when my little guy was 7 months old because I was so sleep deprived and I needed an answer. And so I got this book on Amazon 2 days later and I dug deep into it and I tried it out.
Because I started when Leona was a newborn. So she's my third. So I knew sleep was going to be really important for us to get a handle on. And there was this new book out. So I thought, okay, I've got to see if there's any new tips or tricks. And the book is divided into a couple of different sections. So the first section is from birth, from 0 to 4 months. And then the second section is 5 months to 2 years. So I read that section on birth to 4 months over and over and over again. And there were some really helpful things.
Yeah.
I want to just acknowledge that now that I have had 3 babies, the temperaments are so different. And it is beyond, I have such a different baby this time around. I don't know if this would have worked for my other 2. They were so colicky. We had to do a whole dog and pony show to get them to sleep. But the first section was super helpful for me in understanding that they can really only be awake for 90 minutes. Like we just used that cue, that tip, and that helped us be able to put her down awake. And I think that's the big thing about that they say with sleep is that you want to teach the babies to sleep, to fall asleep on their own, so they've got to be awake when you put them down in the crib, which was like unheard of for my other 2 kids. But suddenly I got the baby that could do that, and it worked miracles. So we would have her all swaddled. We would do a couple of the suggestions in the book, things like singing the same song every single time. We would turn the fan on as the white noise right before we set her down. We'd give her the pacifier, which they do talk about. I appreciate that part in the book. And then we were really sticklers for only being awake for that 90 minutes. And it worked really miraculously every time through that 4 months. And then I think the other piece that was really helpful for me is understanding the physical development that kids need in order to become good sleepers. So, and I think there was also this permission that not having to have a whole routine, even like we were kind of eager to get her into the bedtime routine because we have 2 other kids and we have a household and we just wanted to get her down. But I think there was actually permission in this book that really allowed us to just let her do her sleep cycle naturally and really not focus on the routine until she was about 3 months. So that was really helpful for us. So why don't you talk about yours?
Experience.
And how they talk about, because they talk about the big concept in the book is called the wave, the sleep wave.
The sleep wave. Yeah. So unlike Julietta, I started late, 7 months. I knew I was late. Dun, dun, dun. Here
Everybody says it's 5 months. You got to do it at 5 months.
There's the 5 months like special window apparently that I missed by 2 months. But at 7 months I tried, and so I really read the second part of the book, the 5 months to 2 years. That's what I was focusing on. And the pieces that I really appreciated were the parts where they were talking about, just like to get out of the child's way so that they can find the way to fall asleep on their own. So we're doing something different. We're not fully having our baby sleep in his own bed in the morning time. Like we're on morning wake up 4 or 5 a.m. We bring him into our bed and we sleep together at that time. So we'd bring him into bed and usually he was kind of like tossing and turning and I would try to like cuddle him. I tried to put the binky in his mouth and I was really being the one, like I was his crutch to get back to sleep, right? So after reading that part of the book, I realized, I need to give him his own space. So he would like flip and kick and he would kick my husband in the head and he would smack me in the head and like totally like head bump me or whatever. But he found his space and he found his comfort and then he would go back to sleep on his own, which was amazing. And I believe that allowance, that ability for him to figure out his own space also helped him to sleep better napping and to stay asleep longer overnight as well. Now, what didn't work for me was this concept of the wave. So the idea is that you put your child down when they're sleepy, but not fully asleep, right? And so we hadn't been doing that. We had been completely getting him to sleep in the rocking chair and then putting him down into the bed, okay? And hoping and praying that he didn't wake up, right? When you put him into the bed.
Out. There's even that part in the book that it says, like, are you tiptoeing out, after they've been totally asleep? Then you are ready to do this method.
Guilty as charged. Okay. So So the idea is you put him into the bed, right? And then you walk out of the room and you say this little mantra. And so my mantra was, Espen, I know you can do this. You have all the ability to go to sleep on your own. I love you. I'm right outside. I'm here for you.
And it's the same script that you use every single time. They even have you write it. I wrote mine down in the book to read.
I wrote it down and I edited it and wrote it down like 5 or 6 different times on this piece of paper until the highlighted version was like the one that I landed on, right? So you say that, you leave, and then you go back in every 5 minutes. So I did that for 45 minutes.
Every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes I would go in there for 45 minutes straight, and he just cried the entire time. And every time I went in, he would just get more upset because I wasn't comforting him, I wasn't touching him, I wasn't giving him that comfort. And so the mantra piece didn't work for me. I felt like I wasn't providing the comfort that he needed. Just my physical presence wasn't helping. So I needed to like pat him or soothe him in some different way.
Right. Because that's, I think that it's the verbal, letting them know so they never get distressed that they're being abandoned, or but you actually don't physically touch your child. I think that was the part that was like so hard for me too.
So heart-wrenching, you know? And so there I am sitting outside the door listening to him like scream cry, and I'm just crying, you know, and I'm texting my husband who's not home, of course, because I decided to do it on my own. Like what was completely crazy. And so for 45 minutes I gave up, of course. And then I was like, okay, I can't do that anymore.
And that's what I think a lot of parents do, right? They will try it one time and then totally give up because it's so traumatizing for all parties.
It's so traumatizing. So that part didn't work for me. But what did work for me, like I said before, was giving him that space to help him fall asleep on his own. I'm still trying to figure out a lovey or some kind of like transitional
They talk about
object.
the transition object. That's really powerful for them.
So far, he just does not. He's not into stuffies. He's not into blinkies.
Yeah.
My finger is what he wants to hold on to, so that's not
Until
really
we can
helpful.
recreate that. Yeah.
Right? So I'm still trying to find something for him, but that's where we're at.
So, and then for me, when we transitioned to that 4 or 5 months, I think the part in the book that was also helpful was that piece about that physical development. So why the tummy time is so important, because they need to have the strength once they're sleeping on their own to get into the most comfortable position. So just that concept, I think, helped me get that nudge when we were told by our pediatrician, and also in our heart knowing that it was time to not have the swaddle anymore. She was rolling over at 3.5 months, and she really just needed to like be on her own, but she wasn't quite there yet. So there was this real bridge that we kind of went through, really struggled with her crying throughout the night, not inconsolable. So finally we moved and her into the bigger space to allow her that space to move around and roll around. And we tried the wave, and because she's a lot younger, she only really cried for about 15 minutes before she settled down, going in with those 5-minute checks. And then again for about another half an hour. So it seemed like we had done it. And then she was up from 2 until 5 in the morning. And it was just heart-wrenching. And so after that, you know, I think like a lot of these books, you can't follow anything so scripted. I mean, kids are so different and you're so different. So you just have to take the parts that work in a lot of these parenting books. So I took the part that worked for me, which was, you know, letting her be in her own space. She's ready to be out of the swaddle, going in every 3 to 5 minutes to help her and support her, but I couldn't just do the verbal. So after that, after the sleep wave method, then I said, okay, I'm going to make my own sleep wave method. I'm going to keep that mantra. I'm going to keep that, you know, Leona, you're capable. It's time to sleep. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to give her the binky back, and I'm going to rub her back. And actually that going through that one night really helped us get over the bridge. It's been a couple of weeks now, and she's totally settled into going down for her naps and for her sleep by herself. So I really appreciated that part of it. Yeah. And then just understanding that awake time from awake to awake, and following the guidelines on the months, because they just go so fast. So I think it's always nice to have that next target. So I know for us, even that 5 month was that next target to look for. And then still it talks about until I think 9 months is our next target. So just to know, okay, keep doing what you're doing with your sleep routine.
And then shake it up when it's time, when they're ready.
Yes, exactly. And so really being ready for that next developmental leap. Yeah. And the bedtime routines, I think, really help too. You know, especially I've got an 8 and a 5-year-old. So being able to like kind of say, what was that again? What do you do with babies? What would the routine look like? So that's been really helpful for us. So in summary,
there were great parts and parts that didn't work for us.
Yes.
And that I think there's no like one sleep book that obviously, like from our perspective, from the research base, from Sproutable, that we would say this is the one and this is going to work for everyone. Because everyone, like Julietta said, everyone's so different.
Yeah.
You're different. Your child's different.
I will say it's really easy to read, so that it's really clear, simply written.
Yeah.
Having had 2 colicky babies, I appreciate there's a little bit of reference to it, but I will say, I know we're reviewing this book, but I still think this one was the most helpful for me if you do have a baby that really feels inconsolable, that you can never just lay down when they're awake. And so to me, parts of this Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child, and parts of the Happy Sleeper really helped. And then I also journaled from my second baby, the sleep, like when we were going through all the sleep challenges, trying to get her to sleep on her own and through the night and on her naps. And so it helped me to have that all written down so that when I came around third time around, I knew what I had done last time and the parts that worked and didn't. So maybe write a future note to yourself too if you're planning on growing your family. So so I think I would recommend, I would say in summary, would you recommend this book to a friend?
I would. Yeah.
I would too. I would recommend this book to you.
Yeah.
And read the parts that work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like any sleep book, like any of these things, read this one, but read a couple others. Like see what's going to work for you, what's going to resonate for you.
And start early. The earlier, the better.
Start
I do
early.
think, because we know developmentally, the window really for the sleep training is that they say 5 months, minimum 5 months. We started just this little bit early because they had a checklist if your child was ready a little bit earlier, and she was rolling all around. So I think that 5 to 6 month window is really critical.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Good luck out there with sleep.
Yay. Okay, I think it's important that we should show that during this entire recording, this baby has been asleep. If this is not an endorsement of a book, I don't know what is. Claire, can you see her? Sleeping so peacefully on her little tummy with her pinky in. It works.